Sorry about that, guys. Took a little minute to get in there. Sorry, I'm just getting back, so I'm going through all my plays and everything like that. I actually hadn't gotten to all of the late night games yet, and I'm just making a note of that right now. But I'm going to let everybody file on in, ask some questions, and then I'm going to go through my DraftKings, and then we're going to talk some FanDuel, and then we'll go through questions and spend some time that way. You guys know me. I talk pretty fast, so I'll go through it pretty quickly. So anyway, Bane and Jaw. Okay, hold on one second, guys. I'm just trying to get my final thoughts so I have a better thing to present you. And it took me a little longer to get back today, so a little frustrating. Had about to go to LA and back about 6.5 hours of driving because of the traffic being just so absurd, and it was frustrating to say the least. Okay, and let's see. I think that's pretty much I've got through my games here, at least for the main ones. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about it. The name of the game is probably going to be you want to delay outside of this first game. So the thing is, we have to wait on Neesmith and Nembhard information to really know what we're going to do here. I think you got to play CJ McConnell if either one are out, and even if they play, I think he's reasonable. If Nembhard plays, I think he's interesting, and it would kill the Duarte interest. But we really just need the Neesmith or Nembhard news, and I don't know how to analyze that until we have that. As of right now, even with these guys, I think McConnell's still a tremendous play and just becomes an absolutely awesome play if they're out. You never know, too. They've only got two Q tags, but it is a back-to-back for them on the road. So just keep an eye out for it. But it is the first game of the night, and mostly we want to delay. The problem is I also could make a pretty good argument for this being like a game to stack. If those guys are out, McConnell and maybe Matherin and Duarte or something like that. And I think Carter, Banchero, and Wagner are all super interesting, with a little bit of interest in Fultz or Cole Anthony for large field. So there is a way to stack that game, but I think that you're better off playing the McConnell for right now and then sort of moving on unless we hear the other guys are out, because there's just so many good plays in this slate. It's going to be a really, really tough slate. I had a nice profitable one last night, but couldn't get my big build right. And but I had some near wins, like third in the $20 and up there in the $40 and the $100 I had a chance. So it was like a nice. The single entry stuff was pretty nice, but I couldn't quite get there in the big stuff, and that's because the chalk hit big time. So we have a really weird thing tonight. We have possibly the two best teams in the NBA playing, and they're not going to be on TV, which is kind of strange. And it makes me wonder what Denver's going to do on this back-to-back. I think some people are going to sit, but I'm going to wait to get to that game in a minute. With the Brooklyn-Philadelphia game, I think that Kyrie just on his own is a totally reasonable play. Embiid is questionable. Embiid tends to play when they play on national TV, and he tends to play exceptionally well when they play on national TV. Obviously, if Embiid's out, we're going to be mixing in Melton, Maxey, and Harden like all over the place. If Embiid plays, I love Embiid. Love Embiid, and I will be all over Embiid in this matchup. Okay. Some other guys from games that I'm considering. In the Minnesota-New Orleans game, I've got Kyle Anderson right now. Unless something happens with Gobert, we know the drill, guys. We go to Naz Reid when Gobert's out. We also like Kyle Anderson a lot more. I do like Kyle Anderson anyway. Don't think you need him, but he is the guy I have as the most interesting right now. No problem if you ever want to play Edwards or Russell, but they're not priorities for me. The next game, I'm not really interested in the New Orleans side. The next time I get super interested is what happens here in Washington on the back-to-back. So you've got Bradley Beal, who's injured and making $500 bazillion a year, and he's questionable. I'm getting news in right now, so I'm just making it. No good news. I mean, no interesting news. But you've got Monty Morris questionable. If Morris, Beal, anybody's out at all for Washington, I think you want to play DeLon Wright, and I actually think that he's a really good tournament play anyway. Obviously, Avdia is the main play. He's the chalk guy. You're going to play him in your cash lineups. We can be used to the old nervous Avdia because that was usually Rui going crazy off the bench, getting all the run. There's still some risk with it on the back-to-back, but I kind of like the idea of taking some Avdia. I've been taking the full amount of Avdia, basically. I'll probably fade him in a few lineups, but mostly he's going to be there for me. He is my priority. In fact, my priorities overall are McConnell, Avdia, could be potentially DeLon Wright. The Denver situation, which we don't know about yet. So this again speaks to waiting till the 8:00 games start. Again, I'll be in Discord all night helping out, dropping in thoughts of what happens when we see new starting lineups and all that. And then Clark and Tillman, the whole front court situation for Memphis is another priority. Embiid, if he plays, would be one of the priority spend-ups along with Giannis if you want to spend all the way up. But the other guys I'm looking at are Trey or Murray or Bogdanovich. Not all spend-ups, obviously, but I think one of those guys – I mean, it's a great matchup, so I kind of like the idea of running one of those guys with Giddey or Shea on the other side. Still prefer spending all the way up for Embiid and Giannis if we get the value we think we might. But I think that's a very viable route. I love I think you want to get exposure to this Memphis game later on in Golden State. These are rivalry things. I think your other guy is – I have Bane and Ja as both interesting. I love the idea of playing Ja tonight. I just think he's a tremendous spend-up. So I think Ja would be my other favorite along with Embiid and Giannis. Right there with Kyrie. He's totally reasonable too. I do like Kyrie as well. But we've got some pretty good guys to choose from, unlike last night where we were spending up for guys who are more in the, okay, they can get you 55 or 60, other than Luka and Jokic. I just feel like we have better guys tonight in better spots personally. And on the other side of that game, I think if you want to run back a Wiggins, Draymond, or Clay, or Steph, all of those guys are fine with me, just not priorities. But I do think Wiggins is probably the best play in that game. What to do with the Lakers situation? This is a really tough one. I don't know what they're going to do with LeBron. This is a televised game. Oh no, this is not a televised game. Excuse me. I think LeBron is more likely to sit usually here. They did just get Hachimura. He's good to go. With LeBron out, Hachimura is a reasonable play, but we don't know if LeBron's out yet. And if LeBron's out, we want to play Westbrook, but we don't know if LeBron's out yet. And that's going to be the tough stuff for us to deal with, because I think this is a legit, real questionable for LeBron. A game they could possibly win without him, but a game that maybe you're stretching him a little too thin to play on a back-to-back after playing on national TV last night, although they lost by enough that maybe you could have talked yourself into it. I don't know. And then if I was going to run anybody back in that last game to try to take some shots, I think that what I'll do is I'll probably create a Westbrook, Rui, and maybe like a Sohan on the other side, or Trey Jones or Keldon Johnson. That's just where I'm at right now. So you got the priorities as of right now. It could completely change. There's a lot of guys I didn't mention because it's just hard to get to everybody, and I don't want to just make this a one-way show where I'm just talking. But those are the plays on DraftKings. Really quickly, I'll probably do it in like 1 minute. I'll go through the differences on FanDuel. Guys like McConnell, I feel like are actually more playable over there, more in play, and Avdia, because you need the value is really not there currently on FanDuel. So right now, I have McConnell, Avdia, Sohan as much better plays. Brandon Clark, because he's got forward eligibility and allows you to use that center spot. Trying to look at what else. I really like Desmond Bane over there. Paolo, I like the price more than anything else, and you're trying to find and fill in pieces. It's basically fairly, for the most part, fairly similar, but just some of these plays are a little better. I think like Anthony Simons at a similar price on both sites is a better play on FanDuel. Even though he's actually his skill set lends itself better to DraftKings, we just don't have enough value on FanDuel at the moment. Again, we might get a ton of it when we see what happens with Denver tonight. So just keep an eye out. Again, I think you're mostly playing the 8 Eastern games on FanDuel as well, other than McConnell in the first game, unless we hear anybody else is out for Indiana. And if they are, we'll adjust accordingly. But I don't want to speculate on that because we could literally do it all show. I also think guys like Kuzma are more in play over there. I do like Kuzma for what it's worth, but Bradley Beal, especially if Bradley Beal ends up out, which is definitely possible. Mathurin, I like a little better over there. They're all similar price ranges. It's just you have more salary to allocate. You have more salary to use on FanDuel. So using some more of these mid-tier guys is what I'm doing right now. All right. That's a quick rundown of FanDuel. I know it's a little sloppy, but again, we're going to have to try and get through this slate because there's so much news that we're waiting for. So all we can try and do is prioritize what we can best with the way things are right now. You would think like in that Denver game that, hey, you're playing in Milwaukee. Maybe you would have sat more guys last night. You've got 4 questionables on Denver. Like, I don't know. It was a tough matchup last night, and I actually thought Jokic was going to play the whole time, but it is weird on the back-to-back in Milwaukee. Do they want to put their best foot forward against? I mean, you could argue these are the 2 best teams in the NBA right now. They're definitely playing. Denver's definitely playing the best basketball in the Western Conference, and the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks are the Bucks. So That's the other thing is on FanDuel, all the spend ups are even with that weird lack of extreme value, they're still easier to get to. So Giannis is just a ridiculously great play on FanDuel. All right. What else do we have that I maybe didn't touch on? I don't think a whole lot. I'm going to get to questions. Looks like there's a bunch of them, so I'm happy to see that. Guys, keep firing them in. We'll answer them quick, and I'll go through it back and forth if I don't answer it the way you like. Thoughts on Turner and Hield? I think so in general, we've seen Buddy Hield be really bad on back-to-backs historically. And the Turner and Hield thing is going to depend somewhat on the Nesmith and Nembhard because they still have 11 guys. For them to overextend on a back-to-back is unlikely. They're projected right now to play 12 guys. So I personally think both those guys are fine. I don't think I'm going to play either one of them at all. That's just where I'm at right now. They're both fine, but I just don't see it as a priority, and I like the later games better. Is Giannis worth paying up for? I believe he is. I believe Giannis has a huge game tonight. And what's up there to TJ? Saying Şengün on FanDuel. I think I've seen Şengün you could make a good argument for on both sides. I know that the pricing on DraftKings has got people off of him and the position, and I think that's fair because that's a lot to pay for him. But we've seen this guy's ceiling. I mean, he put up 70, then 54, then 57, and back-to-back. Great matchup. I can't argue against Şengün when they're giving him these kind of minutes. So I actually think I'm okay with him on both sides. And that didn't get to my priority list, but he is a guy I would use a little bit of on both sides. So many point guards. Joe, you said it, man. There's a lot of guys to play. Jalen Green is unpredictable. Either hits 30 or 60. Absolutely. He's the run back you could use if that Washington, information breaks the way that you want. You get a little mini stack of that game. I think that makes a lot of sense. Ben Simmons shutting down McConnell, that's not a real thing. I'm going to ignore that completely. LeBron will play, mark your words. That's a really dangerous thing to say. I have watched the Lakers a lot this year, and LeBron has let's just go through it real quick and see how many back-to-backs LeBron plays. He basically has missed, I think he's missed 80% of the back-to-backs. So has he played, and he played the one against Houston. Other than that, he played one against Miami, but that was in Miami. Of course, he's going to play back in Miami. Let's write that one off. He played again. No, he didn't play against Toronto earlier this season. So he's sitting on almost every back-to-back basically all season long. This is a home back-to-back after a loss, but I think it's really reasonable that he could sit. And you have other outs anyway. You can swap if you find out that he's in before 7:30 to some of the guys in the Portland game who are good mid-tier plays, and you can overpay a little bit if you need to. I'm not saying that I don't think you use LeBron as a play saver, but they're not going to let Anthony Davis go nuts his first game back, and maybe that is the reason why you think LeBron was so sure to play. Maybe so. It's more logical from a player resting standpoint. If you're going to keep doing this, maybe give LeBron the night off. The one thing he's got going for him too, he only played 32 minutes last night for a guy who averages like 36 and a half. That's actually a lot less. So I do think it's a close call with LeBron's night. I'm just not banking everything I have on it because it's not like Westbrook is absolutely automatic or Hachimura is automatic without him because we have Anthony Davis in the mix now, even if he only plays 24 minutes. Shea or Giddey interest. That might have been before I said it. I do think that Shea or Giddey running it back with one of Trey, Murray, or Bogdanovich is certainly a route I like to go. And I think that's completely fine. I do like the Sacramento-Toronto game. I'm sort of waiting to see what happens with this other stuff because nobody stands out as being an especially good value. OG's questionable. I think you can always play I think Van Vliet and OG would be my favorite pieces. One thing to keep in mind, Sacramento has been awesome this year. This is not the same old Kings that everybody just goes in and dusts. So I'm not going out of my way to try to get exposure to the Sacramento-Toronto game. It's not a good matchup for Sacramento. It's still a good pace matchup for Toronto, which makes you want to, Scotty Barnes, Siakam, they all are priced I feel like they're just good. They're just good plays. Nobody special, but it is a later game. So stacking it allows you a lot of flexibility. So if you're going to play it, I would suggest getting multiple pieces from that game and hoping that, maybe you can find a way. If you're playing some of the Memphis Golden State game, you could switch it over at 8 Eastern. It's the same thing as if you play 8 Eastern later, because if we hear 4 guys are out for Denver and Milwaukee, we're going to be stacking. We're going to just be playing a ton of Denver guys, not stacking the game necessarily. Beal's not questionable, but it's strange to play him on a back-to-back. So the way I'm treating it is that he probably plays, but I wouldn't be surprised if we heard beforehand that he doesn't play. He probably plays, and he probably plays a reasonable number of minutes, but probably doesn't get overextended. And if Monty Morris is out, DeLon Wright is going to be a great play, but we're just going to have to take a look to that. Dame time back to Weber State. Okay. I don't know what that means. I genuinely don't know. Salt Lake City. He's not playing in Salt Lake City. He's playing at home. It means nothing if he's playing at home. Nothing at all. Playing a team who played near your college team when you're at home is not a thing. On the road, now we're talking, because then you usually know people in the area. You want to show out a little bit. You get 50 tickets to send to your friends, all that kind of stuff. I don't think Lillard is a good play. No. I think that he's fine to take shots with, but when you compare him to the guys around him, the odds of him outscoring those guys, I think, are very minuscule. Highest owned center, I can't answer any highest owned questions. I don't have any ownership because I haven't changed anything. I'm literally waiting on news. All I'm doing is playing McConnell in the first game and waiting on news at the moment unless we hear something else from Indiana. And it's all the priorities that I went through. Nothing new to go through on that one. I kind of like that, TJ, the DeJounte thing. I could get behind it. Like I said, I like the little, maybe DeJounte and Giddey from that game, or DeJounte and Shea. I think it's totally reasonable. It's just if we find other stuff that we might not be able to get over. Yeah, don't worry. I'm not suggesting to play Rui. There's a very good chance he only plays 15 at the same time, back-to-back for the Lakers. They might just like go and throw him right in there. It's not like he's not in conditioning shape. You know what I mean? He's still better than most of the guys they have. I'm not entirely thrilled. I do think he's going to put up numbers with the Lakers, but I'm not like entirely thrilled with that trade. People are like, oh, they got away with it for nothing. And I'm like, second rounders for a team that has no draft picks is actually something. So that's kind of a weird trade anyway. Thoughts on Nurkic from Portland? It's the same thoughts I always have on Nurkic from Portland. What are we trying to accomplish by playing a guy who never plays 30 minutes with Dame, who absolutely can go nuts like he did in the last game? He put up 56 fantasy points in 26 minutes. He also put up 9 the game before that. I'm not playing Nurkic on these kind of slates. I think it's fine. I really do. I just don't think I'm going to go out of my way to prioritize it. I am okay with it though. Actually, the more I look at it, the price. Yeah, you probably want to get a little bit of, if you're like multi-entering, let's say you're playing 10 lineups, maybe getting one or so of Nurkic. Maybe I would have him at 10%, but I don't think I would go a whole lot higher than that. Just a lot of good plays tonight, a lot of good centers, and some guys who you might not want to avoid. If Xavier Tillman's starting, of course you can play Brandon Clark, but like Tillman might end up getting a huge chunk of minutes. He put up 25 fantasy points last game he played, and we don't have Steven Adams, obviously. They can move Jaren Jackson over and play small ball 5. I think that's very possible, so that does kill some of the Tillman stuff. But as I mentioned, I already like Embiid as a spend up. And there's just some other good centers on the slate. And if we're going to talk about the guy who always seems to have the upside to crush projections, on the other side of Nurkic in that game, Walker Kessler is a high range of outcomes, but I feel like the play is very similar to the Nurkic play. Walker Kessler is actually averaging more minutes over the last 10 than Nurkic is. And I'm not particularly interested either, but I just think it's interesting to look at it that way, because I do think that is kind of interesting. And again, I'm probably gonna have to lower my Tillman ownership, because I am sort of thinking that they're going to go to Jaren Jackson at the 5 quite a bit tonight. Everybody on the Sixers, I get, if Harrell's starting, I'd play some of him. Let me just see, what's his price? No, I'm not especially. I mean, I would play a little bit of him. I don't think he'd become an automatic play. If he starts, I think he's a good play, but I don't think it's like an automatic thing. And again, obviously, if Embiid's out, you're just loading up on the other Sixers anyway. Is Irving a lock? I can't stand these questions. TJ is obviously new to us. Lock is not a thing. McConnell last night and somewhat this night are as close, and that's if Nembhard's out, are as close to locks as they come. To say a guy like Kyrie is a lock is honestly stupid. I'll leave that to the RG people and the other sites like RPS that just say stupid stuff sometimes and just love to use this word lock or fade. You have to stack or fade, lock or fade. That's not the way I play the game. That's not the way you should play the game. There's no such thing as, why would Kyrie Irving be a lock at 10K? If you like him that much and you're playing one lineup, then that would be a lock. But that means if you're playing, the way I look at a lock is if I'm playing 150 lineups, is this guy going to be in all of them? And no, that would be the answer is no. Duarte if Nesmith is out. More if Nembhard is out than Nesmith, but if both are out, just wait to see who's out and let's see what the projections say. I really don't know what to do there. Let's see. Thoughts on Lauri Markkanen. Don't think anything of him or any of the Jazz on this slate. If 9,100 is a fair price for what he's been able to produce, I think he's completely fine. It's a fine matchup, but I'm spending my money in other ways. I would rather play, I don't know, in a rivalry-ish game. I would rather play Ja Morant against what is probably the best rivalry in the Western Conference, Memphis and Golden State. So I would much rather play Ja Morant and guys like that, or Kyrie, or then I'd rather pay up for Embiid or Giannis, or I'd rather save 900 and play DeJounte Murray. So well, I think Markkanen is fine. I don't think that you want to try. Remember, what you're trying to always do is narrow your pool, not expand. The more you try to expand your pool, the worse the player you're going to be. I don't know what that means about the Kispert Edwards thing. Those are two totally different things. I don't know really what either of them mean, to be honest with you. That doesn't mean anything. I know, but it's a rivalry game. Okay, TJ, somebody else jump on in here too, because I'm happy to talk to TJ, but like we can't just do a one-person thing. Any other questions that I'm missing that I can't catch up with? I'm trying to go as fast as I can. I don't care that Morant hasn't been smashing. I still prefer him. And again, it's not that I just prefer him. I prefer 10 other guys in the price range to Markkanen, and I think Markkanen is still a fine play. There's a lot of good plays. I'm not going to argue about why somebody's good or bad. I don't have enough time to do it. So I look, my take on it. Could Markkanen have a huge game tonight? Sure, absolutely. Can I rely on these efficiency numbers for Markkanen the whole season? I mean, this guy, so if we're going to take his last games and try to use that as a reason to play him, the guy's shooting 50% from three on high volume. The guy's shooting 60% from the floor, and he's hit his best rebound numbers. He's hit his rebound. What is he at? 5 games in a row, 10 or more. He hadn't had that happen in his whole career. He hadn't had 3 games in a row, I don't believe, where he had 10 or more this season. So I was just like, I don't think you want to overly rely on just everything that's happening lately. So that's my reason for not playing him. That and lack of a 70-point ceiling. Triple J, yeah, absolutely. I like that game. I want pieces of it. So Triple J is in my thing. Absolutely, Gabe. And please like and subscribe before Rody tells everyone to, because he's going to anyway. I like Wiggins to Stephen Can't Curry. Funny name. I do like Wiggins tonight. I don't think it's like a must by any means, but he is a guy who I am going to get some of for sure. Best run back with 3 Grizzlies. Oh my goodness, 3 Grizzlies. That's really not crazy. I think that Wiggins is the safest run back. Safe meaning that he's 6K and he's probably more like a 7K-ish, 7K or higher player. Hasn't really flashed the huge upside since he's been back, but did struggle in that Boston game, and he could have put up a huge game, just wasn't shooting the ball well. I think I would go Poole, Thompson, Curry. The problem is I always feel weird not saying Curry, because Curry's ceiling, as we know, is through the roof. And but I still like the other ones a little bit better just because the pricing works out for me. I think I would go Wiggins, Thompson, Draymond, then Curry, actually, now that I look at it. Late to the show, best game to stack. It could be, I'll tell you when we found out who's actually playing. We don't have Minnesota news. Oh, let's see, we got something in while I was out. No, McCall Hardman news. I don't need. How do I answer that question? The Jazz literally may just not play their entire team tonight. So it's really hard to try to analyze that one. Initially, the thoughts are Washington, Houston, but I'm not particularly interested in Houston. It's just that there's so many guys from Washington, but that depends on whether Monty Morris plays, because then I can get to DeLon Wright. Kendrick Nunn getting in the way is not my favorite thing, and if they start him, I'll be annoyed because they will keep Wright in the spot, but it'll keep Wright low owned. And I think they like DeLon Wright a lot more than people think, and he's been awesome per minute. If he can just get a few more minutes, man, that guy's going to start putting up 40s left and right. I really think they should be trying to get him some more minutes personally. All right, let's see what else we got over here. Drew Holiday. Yeah, whatever. No, nothing for me with Drew Holiday. He put up a few good games, so everybody wants to jump on. Go ahead. If he has a good game, good job. No interest in him for myself. Thoughts on Jalen Williams? Jalen No-Why Williams, I'm guessing. Is that Jalen No-Why Williams? I'm going to guess that it is. Guy I really like in real life that I probably will end up with 0 of in tournaments. No, not for me right now. Just there's too many other players. Maybe I get him into a stack if that game, if nothing else happens and I get that little game stack, but I don't love it. Jabari Beck yeah, it hurts Eason. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Eason is even like, let's see, what's Eason's price right now? 44 is actually not that bad for Eason. But yeah, of course it hurts him. It makes him, barely relevant, whereas he might have been a play. Gafford, I think, is fine, but not a priority of mine. But I do think he's a fine play. All right. Going to get a lot of Harris if Embiid's out. Yeah, Harris is definitely the least interesting piece if Embiid's out for me. By far the least interesting, actually. I'm fine with it, but I just think he is really cheap though. He'd be probably my fourth Sixer, but I do think he's fine. I think I agree with you that Wendell Carter is sneaky. Early game though, very tough to get there. Personally, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull the trigger on these Magic prices because there's too much news to come with Monty Morris, with the entire Denver offense on the road. Like literally, you have Michael Porter, Bones Highland, KCP, Jamal Murray, and Jokic questionable. And two of those guys off of major injuries. How are we just supposed to just ignore that? Like, I don't even care if they lose by 30. We're going to be playing the Nuggets if 5 of those guys are out, which is certainly possible. Clark, yes, absolutely. Especially the answer to everything is yes after 8 Eastern. Okay. Just don't overplay the early games. Though I will make an exception if Embiid is in, and it's really funny because they're doing that Embiid, like where they expect him to be out thing. Oh, they finally bumped up his projection. I think Embiid plays, and I think Embiid stays low owned because of that Q tag all day. And I think Embiid is awesome. And I love it too, MJ. And you've been a great addition, man. We really appreciate you hanging in there with us because you've been really fun to have in the Discord. Sorry about the last couple of days, guys. I've had some real tough family stuff going on. I love doing this, and I haven't been able to get to all my plays and all my early builds and then talk through it and chop it up as much as I'd like. But I will be able to tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. I should knock on wood when I say that. Looking forward to it. That's a whole question you're going to have to ask the NBA, Chris. That's just something we have to account for. Just the way it's every day of NBA. So if you play NBA DFS, this is just another day for you. It just happens to be a bigger day than ever. No. Oh, if everybody's out, let's just see who Denver starts. And then yes, they're basically almost all auto plays, but they're also probably gonna get smashed on a back-to-back. So Gordon would probably be the first guy off the court if they get smashed and everybody sits. Let's see what we got here. Jabari Smith available, which we knew. Yep, I hate when my players get in foul trouble too. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. I appreciate it though. Lively, fun stuff. Jump in Discord. If you're not in Discord already, you're making a huge mistake. We'll be in there all night. We got a bunch of experts and a lot of great players who don't actually work for us, who just are in there dropping in dimes left and right. So let's get on it. Let's make some money, and appreciate all you guys. Let's get it done, y'all.